And then the guard put his bayonet on his gun, and he turned and put it into my back, and he started running me through this first cell block. And when he stopped in front of one of the doors, I looked up at the door, and written on the door in Indonesian with chalk was, "Orang ini musti mati," this person must die, and I knew I was in death row. I remember that day when the guard opened that door, and he put his hand behind me and shoved me into that little cell, and I hit the other side, and then I turned around and I came back and I knelt down in front of that door. I was watching the end of the key, for I knew when it made a complete revolution, I was locked in death row. And when he pulled the key out and started to go away, I suddenly realized I was sitting there on the floor of that cell, and I was singing. You know what I was singing? A song I learned as a little girl in Sunday school. I don't even remember memorizing it, but I was sitting there singing, "Fear not, little flock, whatever your lot. He enters all rooms, the doors being shut. He never forsakes, he never's gone, so count on his presence from darkness till dawn." They could lock me in that cell, but they could not lock my Lord out. Became a veritable chapel, a sanctuary to me in a wilderness place. Many times when his presence filled that cell until I've opened my eyes because I thought I must be in glory. And I would see the cell walls around me and realize that God was there with me. And the first day they threw in a plate, a tin plate that had some rice on it with a little bit of sugar at the top, and I was so upset I couldn't eat it. So he came and grabbed it again, and he said, "Well, if you don't like sugar, you'll never get it again," and he didn't. Then when they realized I had dysentery, they took me off of the whole rice and put me on rice porridge. Of course, I had no spoon. I learned to handle rice with my fingers, and this is a nice way to eat it. Just roll it into a little ball and get your thumb behind, just pop it into your mouth. And I like eating rice with my fingers, but porridge, that was something else. And one day I had climbed up because I was having an attack of malaria. And I got up to the transom above the door, and I was hanging on there. And I had one foot on the doorknob and the other foot over on the windowsill. And I was hanging there, and I was trying to get air on my face because of the terrible fever from the malaria. And I could see the courtyard there. There was an overhang of the roof, so nobody could see me, but I could see them. And I was so fascinated to see other women. And most of them were native women there just for minor misdemeanors, and they were allowed to walk around that courtyard in the afternoon. And I saw this one woman, and she was edging off toward the fence that was at one end of the courtyard. It was covered with Honolulu creeper. And through that Honolulu creeper came a hand, and on that hand was a big bunch of bananas. And seeing those bananas, oh, I wanted anything to eat. I could smell those bananas. I could remember the taste of bananas. Oh, I wanted a banana. It was like a physical hurt within me. And I got right down off that door, and I got on my knees, and I said, "Lord, I'm not asking you for a whole bunch of bananas like she has. Could I have just one banana, Lord?" And then I did what maybe some of you do it too. I think most of us do. I tried to figure out how God could get a banana into that prison for me. And I said, "Now, Lord, now there's these two men that have been trying me, and now neither one of those men would ever bring me a banana. I know that. Then, Lord, there is this other guard, and he wouldn't give me one. And there's this older man that's been coming here in the evenings to do guard duty. I think he might if he knew I wanted a banana, but I wouldn't ask him for a banana, because if they ever caught him giving a banana to me, he might be shot." I said, "Lord, that's it. There's nobody else around here." And I said, "Please, Lord, don't think that I am not grateful for this rice porridge. I really am. And I'm sorry if I ask for a banana and you can't get a banana in here to me." And I really didn't see how God could ever get a banana in there. And the guard came, and he got the door open, and I stood up very rapidly. But there, standing in the doorway, was the camp commander, the Japanese camp commander from that other camp from which I had been brought down to this prison. And he was smiling, and it had been so long since I had seen a friendly face, since I had seen anyone smile. I was so excited, I just clapped my hands. I said, "Oh, Tonya Yamaji, seperti lihat sobat yang lama." I said, "Mr. Yamaji, it's just like seeing an old friend." And the tears came in his eyes. He turned and he walked right out of the cell, never said a word to me. For a long time he talked to those other men who had been trying me. I don't really know what he said, but I think he was telling them about the day when I heard that Russell was dead. And he called me over in the afternoon hours, and he said, "I just wanted to talk to you." And I said, "I just want to tell you about somebody I came to know when I was 9 years of age back in Boone, Iowa in America." I said, "His name is Jesus. He's the Son of God, the Creator." I said, "Maybe you never heard of him, Mr. Yamaji, but I want to tell you about him." And the Lord gave me the most beautiful opportunity to lay the plan of salvation before that Japanese officer. And he kept nodding to me, and I said, "This is why, Mr. Yamaji, I don't hate you." I said, "I don't hate you, because wherever the love of God fills our hearts, there's no room for hatred." And I said, "I don't know, maybe God even brought me to this day, to this place, and to this moment to tell you that He loves you, and that His Son, Jesus Christ, died for you." And as I laid the plan of salvation before him, his tears started down over his cheeks, and he kept nodding to me. I knew from that moment on that man was my friend. And I really believe that God did a great work in that man's heart. And I believe that's what he was telling those men there that day, because their heads kept getting lower and lower. I believe he was pleading my cause. He finally came back into the cell, and he looked down at me and he said, "Oh, you're very ill, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Yamaji, I am." And he said, "I'm going back to the camp now." He told me later he spent 3 whole days going from office to office before he finally got permission to come in to see me. And he said, "I'm going back to the camp. The women are all wondering about where you are, what is happening to you." He didn't tell me at that time that these men had sent word back to the camp that I was dying of tuberculosis, said, "We'll never return her to camp because she's dying of tuberculosis," not wanting them to know that I was going to be beheaded. And he said, "I'm going back now. Have you any word for the women back at the camp?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Yamaji. When you go back, would you tell them that I am all right, that I am still trusting in the Lord?" And I said, "They'll understand, and you'll understand, Mr. Yamaji." And that man nodded his head, and he walked out of the cell. He was gone just as soon as that door was locked, and I heard them walk away. It hit me. I hadn't bowed to any of those Gestapo men. I thought, "Lord, why could you not have helped me to remember to bow to them? Just as soon as Yamaji's gone, they're going to come and get me and take me back to the hearing room. And please, Lord, I don't want to go through another one of those." And then I heard the guard coming, and I knew he was coming for me, and I stood up and I said, "Lord, I need strength to walk to that hearing room." But when the door went open, the guard walked in and he just laid them all out on the floor. Do you know what they were? Bananas. I sat down and I counted them. There were 92 bananas. I don't know what you would have done, but I pushed those up in the corner just as far from me as I could get them, and that wasn't very far because I don't have much character. And I said, "Lord, I have no right to eat those bananas." I said, "Yesterday I was telling you there was no way in the world you could even get one banana into me." And you know, so sweetly he came and he said, "Oh, that's what I delight to do, the exceeding abundant above anything you ask or think,